The Widow, episode 15. A year after the death of her beloved husband, Isabel, the cold-hearted widow, finds herself amidst a storm of emotions. A mysterious man, Ricardo, bursts into her life, slowly melting the ice fortress she built around her broken heart. But Isabel's happiness is threatened by a sinister shadow, her deceased husband's brother, Daniel, who harbors a dark and dangerous passion for her. Daniel plans something terrible, something that could destroy Isabel and everything she has achieved. Will Ricardo's love be able to protect her from the clutches of a vengeful past? The answer is about to be revealed. In a deadly game between love and hate. It was a dark and stormy night, as if the heavens were weeping with Isabel. A year had passed since the great love of her life, the kind and beloved Eduardo, had departed. Her house, once full of laughter and joy, was now a vast castle of sadness. Isabel, the widow with a cold gaze and closed heart, walked like a shadow through the spacious rooms, each corner whispering painful memories. She had sworn never to love again, never to leave herself vulnerable to suffering. Her heart, a steel vault, seemed immune to any emotion beyond pain. That was her shield, her fortress against the world. But then, like a ray of sunshine breaking through the clouds of a furious storm, Ricardo appeared. A man with a charming smile and eyes that seemed to penetrate her soul, a man who made her feel a strange and uncomfortable sensation of calm. Yes, calm, a feeling Isabel had forgotten existed. He won her over slowly, with delicate gestures, with gentle words that melted the ice surrounding her heart, piece by piece. He made her smile, and that frightened her. Smiling was something Isabel had forgotten how to do. It was such a new, such a strange sensation. Ricardo brought with him the promise of a new dawn, a future where love could blossom again, even amidst the ashes of her past. He took her on romantic walks by the sea, where the sound of the waves seemed to whisper secrets to her heart. He presented her with flowers, with smiles, with vows of sincere and intense love. A love that Isabel felt she didn't deserve, but which, at the same time, comforted her in a way she found impossible. But Isabel's happiness was like a fragile flame, threatened by a sinister wind. Daniel, Eduardo's brother. Daniel, who had always secretly loved Isabel, with a sick and possessive passion. He watched her from afar, his hands clenching a crystal glass until it shattered, a reflection of the rage that consumed him. For Daniel, Isabel was a possession, a trophy he could never have. And now, seeing her in another man's arms was like a stab to the heart, an unacceptable insult. The night Ricardo proposed to Isabel, a deep sense of terror filled the air. It was the height of happiness for Isabel, the rebirth of her faith in love. However, a premonition of tragedy hung in the air, like a silent threat. A shadow moved furtively among the trees surrounding her house, a silent and sinister shadow. It was Daniel. Daniel watched the scene from afar, his dark eyes full of rage and hatred. Isabel's happiness was a needle stuck in his heart, and he was willing to do anything to end it. He had masterfully planned the scene, every detail meticulously thought out, every step calculated to lead to destruction, to extinguish the flame of love that had so slowly been ignited. His revenge would be cruel, devastating. He would not allow Isabel to forget Eduardo, nor to love another man. As Isabel laughed, dazzled by the sparkle in Ricardo's eyes, Daniel clenched his fist, his knuckles white as bone. He drew a small, cold, and sharp object, an instrument of destruction capable of ending the couple's happiness. The beauty of the night, the joy of love, were about to be inundated by a wave of terror. Isabel's fate hung on a thin line, between the promise of a radiant future and the cold darkness of revenge. Would Ricardo's love be strong enough to protect her from Daniel's implacable hatred? The answer was hidden in the darkness of that fateful night, about to be revealed in a crescendo of suspense and emotion. The storm in the sky was a harbinger of the storm that was approaching. The rain fell in torrents, each drop like a tear on that fateful night. Isabel, radiant in her white dress, felt her heart beat strongly in her chest. Ricardo, on his knees, with an intense gleam in his eyes, declared his eternal love. It was a moment of pure fairy tale, a dream come true after a year of darkness. But Daniel's shadow loomed over the scene, as real as the cool breeze blowing from the sea. He was hidden behind a towering tree, his body tense like a string about to snap. Revenge consumed him, a black flame burning within, preventing any positive thought from reaching him. He squeezed the small object in his hand tightly, a small but powerful stiletto. Isabel, immersed in happiness, did not perceive the approaching danger. She only saw Ricardo, his eyes full of love, and for a few moments forgot the pain of the past, the memory of Eduardo. It was such a strong, such an intense love, that it seemed capable of breaking any barrier. However, Daniel was determined to prevent her from finding the peace, the rest she so longed for. He could not allow another man to take his brother's place in her heart. Hatred blinded him, obscuring any other feeling, any remnant of reason. Suddenly, a lightning bolt cut across the sky, illuminating Daniel's face, revealing his cruel and vengeful expression. A deafening thunder followed the lightning, as if nature itself were rising up against the approaching cruelty. The beauty of the night, previously serene and romantic, transformed into something menacing, a harbinger of imminent tragedy. Daniel was preparing to act, his hands trembling, his breath ragged. He waited for the right moment, the instant when Isabel's happiness was at its peak, to deliver his fatal blow. Ricardo, noticing something strange, felt a chill run down his spine. He turned, his eyes searching for the origin of that feeling of imminent danger. The sight of a shadow moving among the trees put him on alert. He felt the air become heavy, charged with a malevolent energy. The smile on his face vanished, giving way to an expression of concern, of fear. He didn't know who it was, nor what he planned, but he sensed the danger. Isabel, noticing the change in Ricardo's expression, followed his gaze. Her eyes suddenly met Daniel's silhouette, emerging from the shadow of the trees like a vengeful ghost. The blood froze in her veins. Fear, a feeling she thought she had overcome, returned with full force, breaking down the barriers of her hardened heart. It was Daniel, Eduardo's brother, her tormentor. Her past, which she had tried to bury, returned to haunt her. The newly discovered happiness was now threatened by a sinister shadow, cold as death. Isabel's fate, her new love, hung on a thin line between life and death, love and hate, past and future. Daniel's decision was about to seal the fate of them all. The stiletto gleamed in the pale moonlight, ready to be used. The rain continued to fall, mingling with Isabel's tears. It was a dark and stormy night, the sky weeping thick tears over Isabel's house. A year had passed since Eduardo's death. Her beloved husband, and the mansion, once a haven of joy, was now a palace of shadows and whispers. Isabel, the ice-hearted widow, walked like a ghost through the empty rooms, each corner reminding her of the loss. She had sworn never to love again, never to let herself be hurt. Her heart was a steel vault, impenetrable. But Ricardo, like a sun breaking through the clouds, emerged into her life. His gentle smile, his eyes full of tenderness, melted the ice surrounding Isabel's heart, piece by piece. He made her smile, and that terrified her and at the same time filled her with a joy she had forgotten. He took her on romantic walks, presented her with flowers, with vows of love. It was such an intense love, so different from anything she knew. He made her feel alive again. But this happiness was a fragile flame, threatened by the implacable wind of Daniel, Eduardo's brother. Daniel, who harbored a sick and secret passion for Isabel, saw her as a possession, a trophy denied to him. Seeing Isabel in another man's arms was unbearable for him. The night Ricardo proposed to Isabel, a chill ran down Isabel's spine, even under the veil of happiness. The joy was immense, but a dark premonition hung in the air. Daniel's shadow, silent and cruel, hid among the trees, observing the scene. He had a terrible plan in mind, a plan to destroy everything. His revenge would be implacable. As Isabel laughed, dazzling in her white dress, Daniel tightened a small, sharp stiletto. The image of Isabel's happiness was an affront to his tortured soul. He would not allow her to forget Eduardo, that she loved another man. His rage was a volcano about to erupt. The night was beautiful, but charged with an imminent threat, like a bomb about to explode. Daniel was ready. Revenge was his only motivation. The rain fell torrentially, each drop amplifying the drama of the night. Ricardo, on his knees, his eyes shining with love, declared his eternal love. Isabel was radiant, forgetting the pain, the past. It was a magical moment, a dream. But Daniel, hidden in the darkness, was a mortal specter, his shadow looming over the couple's happiness. He watched everything, his breath ragged, the stiletto clenched tightly in his hand. He waited for the perfect moment, the height of joy, to strike his blow. Suddenly, a lightning bolt cut across the sky, illuminating Daniel's face, revealing his cruel and vengeful expression. A resounding thunder followed the flash, as if the sky itself protested against the imminent cruelty. The beauty of the night turned into terror. Daniel was about to act. Ricardo, sensing the danger, looked around, a feeling of apprehension enveloping him. A cold shiver ran through him. He saw a dark figure moving among the trees, a sinister silhouette approaching menacingly. Isabel, noticing the change in Ricardo's expression, followed his gaze. Her eyes met Daniel's, emerging from the shadows like a vengeful ghost. The fear, which she thought she had overcome, overwhelmed her. The past, which she had tried to bury, returned to haunt her. Daniel, with the stiletto gleaming in his hand, approached. The newly discovered love was now threatened by the implacable darkness of hatred. Isabel's happiness hung by a thread, between love and death, past and future. Daniel's stiletto, shining, a cold and deadly object, was about to seal the fate of them all. The rain continued to fall, mingling with Isabel's tears, on a night where happiness and terror met in a mortal confrontation. The fate of Isabel, the future of her love, was in the hands of Daniel, the vengeful brother, who approached with firm steps and a cold heart. It was a dark and stormy night, as if the sky itself were weeping with Isabel. The rain beat hard against the windows, a frantic rhythm accompanying the accelerated beat of her heart. Ricardo, on his knees, his eyes shining with intense love, had just asked for her hand in marriage. Isabel, radiant, felt the weight of a year of loneliness fade away, giving way to a happiness so intense it frightened her. She smiled, a shy but genuine smile, a smile she thought she would never feel again. But the joy was threatened by a cold and sinister shadow. In the midst of the storm of emotions, she saw a figure approaching, walking among the rain-soaked trees like a specter emerging from the darkness. It was Daniel, Eduardo's brother, with his dark eyes full of hatred, walking slowly, implacably, toward them. The happiness on Isabel's face turned into a look of pure terror. She felt a shock, a shiver that ran through her whole body, freezing her in the midst of such a romantic scene. Ricardo, noticing the change in Isabel's expression, followed her gaze. The sight of Daniel, pale and menacing, left him paralyzed. The smile on his face vanished, replaced by an expression of apprehension. He felt Daniel's sinister presence, an imminent danger hanging in the air, dense and suffocating like a bad omen. He stood up, instinctively placing himself between Isabel and his beloved's brother. Daniel, with a cruel smile on his lips, stopped a few steps away. In his hand, a small object gleamed in the faint moonlight that managed to break through the dense storm clouds, a sharp stiletto, silver like the blade of death. He raised the weapon, and Isabel, with wide eyes, could see the reflection of the light on the cold and deadly surface, a reflection that mirrored the cold and implacable hatred that inhabited Daniel's heart. He didn't move, he stood still, watching the two lovers, watching the happiness he so longed to destroy. The silence was broken only by the fury of the storm outside. Ricardo advanced toward Daniel, positioning himself in front of Isabel, ready to defend her, to protect her from the imminent danger. The two men faced each other, a silent duel full of tension and hatred. Ricardo's expression was a mixture of determination and fear, while Daniel maintained the coldness and cruelty in his icy gaze. It was a confrontation between love and revenge, between light and shadow, a clash of opposing forces that would determine Isabel's future and her long-dreamed-of love. Suddenly, Daniel took a step forward and in a quick, implacable movement threw the stiletto. Ricardo instinctively tried to protect Isabel, but it was too late. A cry of pain, a sound that tore through the night, silenced the whirlwind of emotions. The stiletto, gleaming in the faint moonlight, reached its target, but not who everyone imagined. The blade, with surgical precision, struck Daniel himself. He staggered, his hand clutching the wound, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. He fell, without saying a word, without uttering a groan. The rain continued to fall, now seeming to wash him and mix his blood with the water flowing down the streets. Isabel and Ricardo, completely paralyzed, watched in silence. The only thing that could be heard was the overwhelming force of the rain that fell as if it were a downpour of tears. Isabel ran to Daniel. A whirlwind of feelings invaded her, a sea of confusion, horror, guilt. She knelt beside him, emotion choking her. Ricardo approached, holding her firmly, trying to offer comfort. But the scene was so horrendous that even Ricardo couldn't contain the tears that fell on his face. The stiletto, that small object that contained such cruelty, lay beside Daniel's body, bathed in blood. But suddenly, a strange sound, a muffled metallic noise, breaks the silence of the scene. Isabel, Ricardo, and Daniel, all lying on the ground. Someone was approaching, and the sound was familiar. The same metallic sound, familiar, that she heard year after year, that marked the beginning of her suffering. A cold, implacable, and deadly sound. The camera closes in on the stiletto, that same stiletto now stained with Daniel's blood. But there is a second mark on the blade, a fingerprint. It is not Daniel's fingerprint, an unknown fingerprint. Who was it? And what was their goal? The camera closes on the strange fingerprint, leaving the mystery in the air, a cruel and implacable question that foreshadows a new chapter of horror and suspense in the next episode.